everybody. It's Tony George along with Griffin Murphy from DocSports.com. The train keeps rolling. Choo, choo.
Yes, sir.
9-3 year to date off a 5-1 show last week on the Doc's Gridiron six-pack. And, of course, 68% against the spread last year. We tried to manage everybody's expectations at the beginning of the year, Griff, because 68% is very hard to follow up on, and we're sitting there right now after 2 weeks, buddy.
Absolutely, Tony. We have been absolutely dice rolling, man. I mean, across all picks, premium selections, as well as on the gridiron, we are smacking left and right. And you know what? There is zero anticipation of slowing down. The slate again this weekend looks absolutely phenomenal, including the games that we're about to break down for everybody right now. So I'm jacked up as always, feeling hot. Football is rolling. Tony, how we doing over there?
We're doing good. I had a 2-2 week in college football, went unbeaten in the NFL in sides and totals, but I did stick the Baltimore Ravens in a teaser. How about those Raiders?
So
The
did I.
Raiders!
Dude.
My goodness, what is going on in Baltimore? And they got the Cowboys on the road this week.
Uh-huh.
And how about the Cowboys pulling out a can of stink ass last week? Another beauty by Mike McCarthy getting his team ready to play a big game. Unbelievable. I don't think it's Dak Prescott, Griff, and I don't think it was Kellen Moore and they've switched everybody out. Dan Quinn left. Bottom line, it's Mike McCarthy. He just stinks as a head coach. He's not the guy down there. They got talent coming out their rear end. What is going on in Dallas? I have no idea.
Tony, let's talk about that, considering the fact that how many people have been eliminated now in Circa Survivor. You want to talk about the Ravens going down, the Cowboys going down. I mean, team after team. And yeah, McCarthy, I've never been a fan of him. Even in Green Bay, I watched him. Obviously, I'm an NFC North guy. I've always been a Bears fan my entire life, so I've watched this guy coach. Never have I been impressed with him whatsoever. Dallas has all the star power in the world. Stacked at quarterback, stacked on the offensive line, stacked on the defensive line. They just can't get it together. I don't know what's going on with this team, and that lands on head coach Mike McCarthy.
Stacked in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers managed to get one Super Bowl, and that roster was stacked on both sides. One Super Bowl.
Yep.
You know, now if Patrick Mahomes would have been up there and Andy Reid coaching back when Andy used to coach up there, Green Bay to have 4 or 5 more. I'm just saying McCarthy could be a problem there. And just for everybody out there, you can find us at DocSports.com. There's a link for a free $60 above you below. A little different graphics this week. We're going back and forth experimenting with some stuff, but one thing remains constant. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, DocSports.com, free $60. So be sure to take advantage of that link right there above us. There's a tab on the upper left-hand corner of the website, and it comes with a profit guarantee, all kinds of information over there for you to digest, help you make better decisions. And yes, Griffin alluded to the Circa Survivor. When we lose a play, people want to go on Twitter and they want to MF us and they want to tell us that we're the lowest common denominator of human filth for doing what we do. And we're out there to take, you know how hard the Circus Survivor is an example of how hard it is to handicap in this business. And I'm just not talking NFL, but let's stick to it since you brought it up. There were almost 14,000 people that paid $1,000 each. And all they had to do was pick one game without the spread. Ladies and gentlemen, 50% of the people that are in Circus Survivor, over 7,000 are out.
Yep.
And Griff, that's just picking it straight up. There's no spread involved. You think handicapping the NFL is just 101 stuff? Think again. This is difficult stuff, Griff. And people that come out here that want to piss in the tall wheat with the big dogs, $1,000 is nothing to me. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to show them. All I got to do is pick a winner straight up. No big deal. Right?
Right.
How'd that work out for him, Griff?
Well, it didn't work out too well for me on that Ravens call. I had Ravens week 2. I had Seattle week 1 when everybody got gnashed on that Bengals call. And then I, on top of that, had the Ravens in a 3-team teaser, and they were my last leg. And of course, they shut that down. I mean, Gardner Minshew, and we'll get into that. God, did he play out of his mind. We'll talk about that. I'm getting ahead of myself right now. But of course, Tony, absolutely. Survivor is no joke whatsoever.
Yep. Let's get to it, folks. SEC action here against Big 12. UCLA, LSU. Coincidentally, this is Griffin's pick. Coincidentally, these two teams you faded last week on the Gridiron 6-pack, and you went bang, bang with both of them.
Yep.
South Carolina covers number, should have won the game. LSU, lucky to get out of there alive. They got some big calls go their way in that ball game too.
Absolutely.
Some controversial calls there. And UCLA, attention, UCLA athletic department, you have a football team. I don't know if you know this or not, but UCLA has scored 13 and 16 points in 2 games against Hawaii and Indiana. Indiana pulls out a can of whoop-ass 42-13. You were all over them on the show last week. And then LSU, 37-36 win there. Or, pardon me, 36-30. I can't even read the score. They won by 3.
33. You got it.
There you go, 36-33. The line at LSU in Death Valley, LSU minus 24. You gave me this line 3 years ago. I told you were crazy. That's in the realm of possibility, Griff. Tell me about it.
Tony, you know what? I have a very sneaky wager in this game, and I'm going to jump right into it. You've got LSU coming into this game 2-1 on the year after squeezing that victory last week over a very underrated, talented South Carolina club. They are legit, and people are going to see that down the line this season. This is going to be a much different approach in my eyes under head coach Brian Kelly. QB Garrett Nussmeier leads the charge coming off a very solid game, but in my eyes, this is going to be the perfect opportunity to see this kid really air the ball out. But I will talk about that in a second. LSU right now is 30th in the league when it comes to passing yards, averaging over 300 yards in the air per game. This is going to incorporate a lot of focus on the pass game for UCLA's behalf. I would anticipate Brian Kelly, he is going to focus early in this game on the run game. He's going to want to stretch this UCLA's defense out before he starts using his star quarterback to air that ball off come second half. UCLA, we already talked about it. This team is brutal. 2 of their 12 players have returned on the defensive side from last season. They opened up the year beating Hawaii 16-13, which was an awful performance. Then that was our incentive to see, all right, is it weird because they're just playing in Hawaii and, a lot of crap goes down in Hawaii. Sometimes teams win outright. It's never really the place that you feel comfortable playing. You're kind of in another country. We talked about that. But this game was followed by Indiana absolutely ripping them apart in Pasadena, putting up 42 points against that defense in a 42-13 final. LSU, they have a very strong offensive line. One of the strongest offensive lines they've had in a very long time, I must state. I expect a very controlled, slow pace out of LSU in the first half of this game before they start playing those trick shots. Indiana tossed for 307 yards in the air and rushed for 120 yards on the ground. Now, UCLA has to come into Tiger Stadium, where LSU was 7-0 at home last season, 1-0 at home this season. I do not love the fact of laying 24 points here because I believe this is going to be a second half scoring game. In the first game, the first half, what I do like is that under 29.5 in the first half. The Tigers should be heavy on the ground to stretch the field a bit before they let their star quarterback and Garrett Nussmeier start airing the ball out to his star receivers, as in Kyron Lacey and Mason Taylor, who are both very, very good wide receivers. So again, I expect a second half breakout for LSU, but 24 points is still too many points in my eyes. Having said that, Tony, give me that under 29.5 points in the first half of this game. Now, going into game number 2, this line changed. The game opened up at Cal +2.5 or +2 at Florida State with a total at 44.5. This line has now changed. Florida State is now laying 2.5 points in this game. FSU, winless on the season. They just lost to Memphis at home and once again failed to cover the spread. There just seems to be zero momentum and zero fire out of this team whatsoever. Tony, what do you see out of this FSU team and how this matchup plays out?
If it looks like a dog turd and smells like a dog turd, no matter how you polish it in the media, it's still a dog turd. And that's what we got with the Florida State Seminoles. Get these
Agreed,
numbers.
man.
Florida State is 127th in college football in yards per game. The Cal defense is in the top 30 in yards allowed per game. Florida State is number 123 in the nation. Florida State, 15 points, 3 points per game at number 123.
Brutal.
The Cal defense, number 27 in points allowed at allowing 12 points per game. Also, the California defense, who went on the road and knocked out the SEC's Auburn Tigers at Jordan-Hare. They are number 1 in the country in takeaways. Give me the Cal Bears +2.5. Florida State stinks. They're going to continue to stink. That coach is going to be on the hot seat. All the bitching and moaning about being unbeaten last year and then not getting into the playoff after they lost their quarterback, and then Georgia takes them out behind the woodshed and beats them upside down like a redheaded stepchild, embarrasses them, embarrasses the coach, embarrasses a university, and Florida State has not gotten over that yet, and they've got nothing in the tank. The quarterback play is terrible. They are running the ball at number 129 in the country. No, pardon me. Number 132 in the country at 52 yards per game. Good luck against a stout defense that already beat an SEC opponent.
Great.
Give me the Cal Bears. We're going to Berkeley, collecting a ticket on Saturday once they fly back. All right, we're going to switch gears and we're going to stay in the SEC. Speaking of hot seats, Napier down there in Florida, they're calling for his head. He got a $67 million buyout. I got news for you. He ain't going anywhere. Taking on Mississippi State. They're on the road laying 6, total 58.5. And Mississippi State, hey, Mike Leach is gone. I know they didn't play a lot of defense when Mike Leach was there, one of my favorite coaches of all time in college football. However, they've given up 71 points in the last 2 weeks, including Toledo pulling out a can of serious whoop-butt, 41-17 last week against them. And Florida, okay, you opened up. Miami, I thought would win the ACC this year. I'm probably going to be right. So even though it was I think it was 41-17, something like that against Miami to open up this season, you can explain that. You also can explain losing to Texas A&M a little bit, even though it's a swamp, this, that, and the other. You know, for Florida, I mean, you lost some games against good teams, okay? I don't know why they're wanting to chop this guy's head off, but this is a big game for Florida laying 6 on the road. Your thoughts, Griff?
Yeah, Tony. I mean, I do want to open up just by briefly saying Both of these two teams have not proven themselves whatsoever yet this season. I'm not impressed by any means with this Gators football club opening up 1-2 and just getting absolutely dice rolled by Texas A&M. And as of now, I have to say, Graham Mertz, I've been saying this over and over and over again. This kid is not an SEC starting quarterback. He is inaccurate. He panics in the pocket. He does not have the three-step shuffle when it comes to his feet in the pocket, meaning he has no way of stretching that first down. He has no speed in with his legs, so he's not a quarterback that can convert those first downs for you, and let alone his inaccuracy. DJ Lagway got some time in that matchup against Texas A&M, and he was also terrible backup quarterback. He went 6 for 13, 54 yards passing, and throwing 2 picks. It's bold here. Florida has a massive issue at the quarterback slot in my eyes. Mississippi State, well, they have two strengths on the gridiron. They have a strong secondary, and when I say strong, I don't mean strong. I mean okay. It's a decent secondary. Their pass game is averaging 278 yards against in the air per game. Toledo, they just had 285 yards in the air against them and 170 yards on the ground. Toledo, we can't back off this team yet. They may be for real, so we can't give too much thought on that most recent matchup. They're still undefeated, and they're playing very, very top-tier football. Florida has already showed us. You open up the season against Miami at home, and you get absolutely embarrassed. And when I say embarrassed, I mean absolutely embarrassed. That game was a bloodbath. They tore them apart left and right. Mississippi State has one job, and that is in this matchup to apply heavy pressure on that defensive line. Defensive coordinator Coleman Holzer already stated in a press conference that if we can maintain the rush game against Florida, we're going to have no issue stopping the pass game. And that's obvious because they have nobody to throw. They have Graham Mertz, and they've got this DJ kid who's a backup. Neither of them are worth a hell of crap. Mississippi State has a lot of speed, I have to say, on the offensive side. And they do have a lot of speed on that defensive secondary. Personally, I believe that the market overpriced this total way too much. Neither of these teams have proven themselves on offense, like I stated, and neither of these teams have yet to win a big game. I don't see much talent on either side of the ball, and we are nearly entering week 4. Give me the under 58.5 points in this game, as I believe it is going to be a close game. But I can't rely on Graham Mertz on the road, and Mississippi State has yet to prove they're worth anything yet, as they've played nobody remotely good on their schedule this season. So give me that under, Tony, at 58.5 points here. That is my play. Tony, what do you got for me?
If Wisconsin doesn't want you at quarterback and you hit the transfer portal and you end up at Florida, Florida's screwed, dude.
Agreed, man. Agreed, man. There's a catastrophe across all spectrum of the field right now. That game is going to be one to watch. That is going to be an interesting game for everybody to watch because we're going to find out. We're going to see, is Florida worth anything? Is Mississippi State worth anything? We're going to find out right here in this matchup because this is the first legitimate eye-to-eye matchup where we could say, hey, you know what? One of these teams is worth a damn. But having said that, let's shift on to the NFL, baby. And we're going to rip apart and start it up with, we've got the Carolina Panthers getting 5.5 points against the Las Vegas Raiders. We've got a total sitting at 40.5. I have one question to ask you, Tony, before I pass over the torch. Is Bryce Young's is his career over yet? The kid's 31 for 56 on the season. He's got 245 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Then you've got Gardner Minshew. He's playing absolutely incredible. Coming off an outright victory against the Ravens. Was this a fluke for Minshew, or is he legit? What are your thoughts on this game, Tony?
Well, about the same as Florida State. If it looks like a dog turd, smells like a dog turd, you dust it off, you polish it up, put it up in the 50-yard line, still a dog turd. Now we got line movement. Ladies and gentlemen, we got breaking news on Doc Sports Gridiron Six-Pack. The line's down to 5. You want to know why? Because somebody dusted the cobwebs off of Andy Dalton, and they're going to start him instead. I'm going to tell you how long Andy Dalton has been in the NFL so long that Griffin Murphy probably was in middle school when he got his first start for the Bengals. That's how long Andy Dalton's been around. You think that's going to help? In the first two games, the Carolina Panthers have been outscored. This is an NFL team, folks. 73-13. This is the NFL. This isn't Alabama warming up against Samford and VMI. This is the NFL. Okay? How about the first half? The first half this year, the Carolina Panthers have been outscored. Hang on to your skivvies. 50-3. Is Bryce Young's career over? Let me answer your question. Yes, it is.
Agreed.
He's a bust. Andy Dalton is relegated to being a career backup over the last 7 or 8 years. Andy Dalton couldn't win a playoff game when he was in Cincinnati to save his ass. Andy Dalton is over the hill. They've got Thielen and Dalton. Both guys are past their prime, period. Now, the big news here is because Dalton started, it moved the line a half a point. I can't remember over the last 5 years when it was announced that Andy Dalton was playing in a game where it moved the line in his favor. It might have went against him, but it didn't go for him. On the other side of the coin, everybody's thinking, this is a big letdown spot for the Raiders. They're off a big upset win. Huge letdown spot. This, that, or the other. Now, the Raiders know they got their hands full. They got their hands full this year to get to a 9-8 record, to try and get a winning record. You know, the Chargers, a division loss already. Probably have another one against them. They're probably going to lose 2 against Kansas City. Maybe they can beat up on Denver if Denver continues to suck rear end, which right now it looks like they're breaking in a rookie quarterback, and that's going to pose some issues for them. Bottom line here is, give me the first half line. The average score for the first 2 games is 25 to 1.5. The Raiders are laying 3
I love it.
the first half line. Give me the Raiders. They should be up a touchdown by the half. Stranger things have happened. Anything can happen. In the NFL, Griff, we talk about all the time. It's Jekyll and Hyde every week. What you saw last week, don't put a lot of stock into the following week when you're handicapping games because they're all pros. It's the NFL. But in the case of the Carolina Panthers, I'm going to make an exception to that rule because they just flat out suck. That's the bottom line. Now we're going to go to a team that has kind of sucked. Griffin has had a very tough summer and early fall because he's a White Sox and he's a Bears fan.
Give me a break.
Matter of fact, we've had at DocSports.com, we've got ourselves a psychological consultant because we can try to talk Griff off the ledge of being a White Sox and a Bears fan right now because it has been a tumultuous 4 or 5 months for Mr. Murphy. But the Bears did acquire the number 1 pick in the draft, and so far he looks like a rookie. All the preseason numbers and hype, a little bit overdone. That's what you get for watching ESPN and the NFL Network, ready to anoint this guy the all-saint savior of Soldier Stadium down by the lake. It's going to be glorious like the 1985 season. We got a defense. This is the year. The division is suspect. Blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Your offensive line couldn't stop anybody the first couple of weeks against Tennessee and against Houston. And granted, both those teams have very good defensive fronts. Now you're going back-to-back roadies at the Colts. The line has dropped. We have movement. Chicago was getting 1.5, and now they're getting 1. Total 43.5. The Colts quarterback Richardson off injury managed to go 50% completion rate last week up in Green Bay. Green Bay beat him with Malik Willis. Although it was in Packer Stadium and Willis has some chops.
He's okay.
Yeah, well, that's going to be interesting this week with Willis too, because he's going back to play the Titans, the team that drafted him a couple years ago. Then crap canned him to the curb, kicked him down the road like a can. He got a little
Yep.
payback in mind, but nonetheless, Chicago at Indy. Your thoughts, Griff?
Well, I'm going to open this game up right now, Tony, and say, has Caleb Williams been a letdown? Yes. But is this all on him? As you stated, absolutely not. I was over at Circa watching this game on Sunday Night Football with a buddy of mine, and we're watching this Bears offensive line. And after the first quarter, not even in, we're both sitting there and we're going, snaps the ball, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, boom, blown up immediately. Caleb Williams. Absolutely zero time in the pocket whatsoever. This Bears offense has all the tools, all the explosive weapons to be a dynamic offense, and they can't do it because their offensive line cannot give this kid any time whatsoever. And you can tell on top of that, Caleb Williams still has the early season jitters. This is why I told everybody, and this is why I hated the move. You keep Justin Fields. You let the kid play 6-7 games. If he's still not getting it done, then you bring in Caleb Williams. That is exactly what they did not do, and that is why we are in this cluster right now. Justin Fields over in Pittsburgh right now, lighting it up, playing very good football. He's accurate. He's running well. He's doing everything he needed to do. Caleb Williams, he has the jitters right now. The Bears, they can be a very good team, so don't pull the plug on them just yet. If Caleb Williams finds a way to settle in the pocket, I like this Bears club this season. Are they going to win the NFC North? I would assume not. But all we can do right now as a team is grow. Matt Eberflus, single-handedly, probably the worst coaching job I have ever seen in that game against Houston. Wasting challenges, wasting time. He called a timeout in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left to go in the game, and that was our second timeout. Me and my buddy looked at each other like, what the hell is this guy doing? I hate him as a coach. Our offensive play calls, absolutely atrocious. And on top of that, Swift, he's got nowhere to run the ball because this offensive line just continuously gets blown up in and out, in and out. But to backtrack all of this, the Bears defense, they have a very strong defense, and you have to keep your eye out for that. Jalen Johnson, he's very good in the secondary. You've got Edwards and Edmonds. They are very good linebackers. And our defensive line is doing a very good job applying pressure. And this is where I find value in this game. As you mentioned, Anthony Richardson throwing for 50% completion rating last week. He leads the charge for Indy this week. Yes, this kid is fast, and he can air the ball out very well, but his completion rating is awful. He's got 4 picks already on the season, and the kid tends to panic in the pocket. Indy, right now, they are 31st in football when it comes to total yards against on the defensive side. They have one of the worst pass rushing defenses in all of football. So this is going to give us a real look at what Caleb Williams is capable of doing in the pocket. Can he handle the speed and tempo of the NFL with time and landing shots? Because I believe this is going to be the game where the Bears give him that option, give him that chance on the offensive front, because the Colts defensive line is not that strong. It's brutal, to be honest with you. And that's going to give us a nice little equal mismatch or matchup here, because we know the Bears have one of the worst offensive lines in football, and we know the Colts have a pretty struggled defensive line. So now we get to put the ball in Caleb Williams' hands and see, how is the tempo? How fast is this pace? Can he handle that? Can he lead his receivers with the right timing, like DJ Moore flipping out, throwing his helmet because he's throwing him over 30 yards over? Well, this is going to be the game for the Bears where we're going to be able to see that opportunity out of Caleb Williams. Can he hit his targets? Can we push them backwards and get Swift moving in the backfield and give us that? So with all of that being said, I really do like the Bears here on the money line, taking them straight up. But take the point for insurance always. When it's 1 point, 2 points, always snag that. Don't get beat by a hook. Don't get beat by a field goal. But in this matchup, Tony, I like the Bears. I'm taking them with the points. I think they take down this Colts team on the road here. And last but not least, we got the Tony teaser, baby.
Yeah, we do. Also, just a note on that Chicago Indy game. Why the hell is that total 43.5? I mean, I don't get that. That seems a little high to me.
Seems trappish.
Yeah, it sure does. If Chicago can put up 13 against Houston's defense on the road, they ought to be able to put up 23 here. I'm not so sure what Indy's going to be able to do. I mean, I would lean with
Leans
you
kind
on
of in Chicago's
Chicago,
favor.
e- even though it's a freaking homer pick. I'll go ahead and lean with you there, brother. Okay,
Thank
now
you.
let's get to the
We
teaser
got
here.
one.
Anybody that likes sports, anybody that has any sort of testosterone in them, anybody that likes wings and beer and whiskey and whatever your aperitif is, you watch Monday Night Football. That's what we do as men. We saw a total meltdown by the Philadelphia Eagles in the final minute 40 of that game. Bad coaching, bad execution, a game that they dominated for the most part, just couldn't get it in the end zone. But here's the deal. Because Kirk Cousins went down the field in 6 plays and scored, he's now the new savior of the world. So much so that moved the line from Kansas City 5.5 down to Kansas City 3.5. Okay? What Kirk Cousins do in that game? Tell me, what receiver dominated Philadelphia secondary, which isn't as good as Kansas City's? Blah, 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 blah. Now you got Kansas City minus 3.5. I think Kansas City goes down there and wins by a touchdown, but I do like the Dirty Birds in the teaser plus 9.5. Because we know once Kansas City and Mahomes get over that minus 3.5 number, Griff, they just don't cover. They win games, but they don't cover. They cover the little numbers, and this is Kansas City's first road game. We're going to find out. And Atlanta, give it to them. They do have Atlanta has a better defense than a lot of people think they do. And I thought Atlanta was going to be able to walk away with that division, but not the way that Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay are playing right now. Because they are, just a side note, when you can get out-yarded 270 yards in the NFL on the road and still win, I'm going to back you. I'm going to back you. How about them Bucks? So anyway, that's the first half of the teaser, and the second half of the teaser. Tell you what, Pittsburgh, they did this last year. They'd done it the year before. My good buddy Paul out in Las Vegas, and Griff, you know Paul. You know Big Paul. Mining Company Bar and Grill. Santa Fe Mining Company Bar and Grill. You can find him there each and every game day. His name is Paul. Tell him I said hi.
Not hard to miss.
Boy, he is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I have had to endure this SOB for the last 2 or 3 years because the Steelers figure out ways to win games when they absolutely suck. They won 6 games in a row at the end of the season with Kenny Pickett at quarterback, for crying out loud. They do it with smoke and mirrors, and you're finding out that Justin Fields, with an offensive line, any offensive line at all, can do some things. Caleb Williams now is learning kind of what Justin Fields had last year. But at the end of the day, and this line was moving, Griff, and I want to double check it because this is a heavily bet game right now. I got the Chargers here currently catching a 1.5, total 35.5. This has got 13-10 written all over it. Give me the Chargers. The other 2 underdogs this week, not going to go with any favorites. I'm getting the Chargers at plus 7.5 and what ought to be a 3-point ball game one way or the other. I think there is value in that teaser because you're going through the key fall number of 3, of 6, of 7. Griff Murphy is going to be down at Circa on Sunday morning, pounding the Chargers in half of a two-team thing, maybe even a three-leg teaser. But I'll guarantee you he'll be using them. And by the way, if he's got any balls at all, that means he's going to throw 6 points to get on this number of 7 with his beloved Bears as well. Since he's calling for the outright win, I want to see the ticket on Instagram. I want to see it on at G Murphy Wins.
Oh,
on
you'll
Twitter.
see it. You'll see it, Tony. I'm doing it again, just like last week. I had Atlanta on the tees and I had the Bears on the tees. Oh, you best believe I'm doing it.
All right, there you go, folks. You can find our stuff at docsports.com. That's right. We're going to take the Dirty Birds and the Chargers in the two-team 6-point teaser. Barely got by with that teaser by a half a point last week, with Kansas City really struggling against the Bengals. They played 5 times, Burrow and Mahomes. All 5 games have been decided by 3 points, each and every game. That's unbelievable. That is a rivalry for sure. College football this week, I'll have a 3 to 4 pack. I'm going to have the game on Friday night between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Fighting Illini of Illinois. You were talking about, Griff, the Mississippi State and Florida game and a couple teams seeing eye to eye to really find out where they're at. That game on Friday night is a game between 2 undefeated teams that are going to see eye to eye and play some Big Ten smash mouth football. Oh, yeah. And we're going to find out who's who. That's for sure. In Lincoln on Friday night, I will be parked somewhere here in Kansas City watching that. I might even drive up for the game. It's a 3-hour drive. I can get me a crisp meat burritos at Amigos, stop by my old watering hole Mulligan's, pick up my buddy Bob, head down to Memorial Stadium, and watch a night game there. Why not? Why? The wife's out of town. She's out in Vegas right now. I mean, here I am, batching it all alone. Free Husker ticket waiting for me. I figured out how to use my Spotify now and hook it up to my car stereo. I finally figured that out. I told you I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff, but I got that going for me too, Griff. But you can find my stuff at docsports.com. I'll have a top play on Saturday in the college football ranks, and it will kick butt and take names. In the NFL, I think the board is easy to read this week, and I got a 7-unit banger. I got 2 I love so much it's either going to be a side or a total. I'll guarantee we're going to have a solid card. Unbeaten last week in sides and totals on Sunday at 3-0, including a 6-unit banger. I should have never banged it, but I banged it on the Jets. They got lucky. I'll take it. Rodgers wasn't all that. Wasn't all that just yet. So, interesting game on Thursday night as well. Find my stuff at docsports.com. Myself, Griffin Murphy, 12 other handicappers. Griff, what do you got going on this weekend over at Docs?
Tony, I'm sticking to my routine right now, my ritual, my system, and that is 3 college football plays on Saturday. Already eyed out, already broken down, already drawn out. I have a 6-unit best bet on Saturday, and then Sunday I will also have 3 plays as well, already broken down. I have a 7-unit best bet. I am absolutely on fire right now when it comes to my football selections. I'm going to let everybody know right now. I'm going to tell you guys because we tell it how it is here. I lost my 8-unit play of the year last night in WNBA, so I am not happy about it whatsoever. But that we have a ton of other sports, including NFL and college football in particular, where I am currently 16-4 on the season. I am undefeated in NFL the entire season, including preseason, with a record of 8-0. And then when it comes to college football, I am 8-4 right now, coming off of both a 6-unit best bet winner with Ole Miss, and then Sunday I had a best bet winner, absolutely annihilated with the Browns. Outright victory. I had them +3. So I am steamrolling across all circumstances right now, every sport for that matter, including WNBA. Took a bad beat last night, but I don't believe in bad beats. A loss is a loss, so we take it for what it is, and we move on, and we get that profit back, and that is exactly where my head is sitting right now. But right now, football floodgates are open, ladies and gentlemen. 16-4, undefeated NFL. 3 plays this week on Saturday, 3 plays Sunday. Jets are open. Let's play football, ladies and gentlemen. Tony, that's the slate for the weekend, man. I'm jacked up and ready to go for another profitable weekend. Plus 4,200 already on the season.
Nobody that I know of can say they're unbeaten in the NFL so far, including preseason, folks. Right there. There it is. Right there. Free $60. Get over to Doc's. Get his card. Get my card. Tune in again next week. Doc's Gridiron 6-pack for Griff. I'm Tony, signing off.
See you guys.